Hey guys, Dragon Ball for Life here today. I'm back with another video. Now today's video we're going to be reacting to Saint Scholar's merge Zamasu his galaxy level. Now I'm assuming he's talking about the manga version because in the anime there was no mention of galaxies or anything like that. So it's most likely the manga. Also, I do feel like a lot of people rate the manga a lot higher than the anime, saying that the anime has bad writing, which it does, but I don't think the manga has any better writing than the anime itself. It's probably better written in some parts, but also worse written in other parts. So this whole galaxy level thing is probably going to be one of those parts where it's just an inconsistency. Also, sorry for this bit of hair up here standing out if it distracts any of you guys. I've been trying to put it down, but my hair, once when some part goes up, it doesn't go down. But yeah, so I think he's going to be talking mainly about the manga, but he said he was going to be doing the Goku Black arc, the power scaling for that, like how he did for Battle of Gods and I guess you could say Resurrection F, but it was mostly, Universe 6 versus 7 tournament. So I guess this is just a part that he's taking out of that video for whatever reason, so let's go check it out.
Or Merge Zamasu, as he's referred to as in the Dragon Ball Super anime. But today I want to talk about strictly the Dragon Ball Super manga, the potential level of God Zamasu's maximum power. I'd really like to get your thoughts on this as well, because
I'm through with this Earth and I'm through with this universe. I'll wipe you along with this entire galaxy out of existence. I mean, here's the thing. Just because a character states that they will wipe a certain celestial object out, that does not mean that that's their max. We hear this all the time with characters saying, I will destroy this and that, and usually they low-end it. Like, for example, one thing that they do a lot in Dragon Ball is a character, even though he's past this, will always say, I will destroy this planet. And they keep on talking about destroying the Earth, and it's like, well, you have more than that power. Like, let's be honest. You can destroy far more than a planet. Most of them can destroy a galaxy, solar systems and stuff, and they're still talking about the planet. So it's like, yeah, a lot of times for some reason they do that. They specifically talk about something that's even smaller to destroy, even though they can destroy more. They say this all the time. Beerus was talking about destroying the solar system, which is at least beyond planet level, but we know that even in the movie, Beerus was way past, solar system level, yet he just stated that he will wipe out the solar system. So usually, a lot of these characters, they talk about wiping out something smaller. So just because he stated he will wipe out this entire galaxy does not mean that that's his max power in the manga. He could probably still be universal, but he just says galaxy, like how even when they can destroy a solar system or beyond that, they're talking about destroying the Earth. So yeah.
I always found this one quite interesting and an eye-opener in terms of not what we think as fans in terms of scaling, but where Toyotaro and Toriyama put these characters at their devastating power in terms of the story and from a narrative standpoint. It's also what I find very inconsistent when combined with scaling. But please like this video if you're a fan of the Goku Black arc in the manga. I think it's one of the best manga arcs and a lot of crazy stuff happens. But let's focus on this potential feat for a moment. And this is only my opinion on it, so don't go being all Merge Zamasu on me for having a different view. I was originally going to include this in my Dragon Ball Super manga power scale series, but I removed it because, as you may know, feats and raw power scaling don't always like each other when gauging powers, and feats are not always dependent on certain characters being X stronger than a certain point. Throughout the story, feats just happen regardless of their raw power growth.
Okay, so what he's basically saying that is sometimes the feats and what is shown in the show do not correlate and do not always connect. And I do agree with that. Sometimes we see in Dragon Ball where these characters should be significantly more powerful, but then we have supposed feats, or what has been dubbed as the anti-feat, where it basically detracts more from their power than it adds on to it, So like we saw when the Goku struggling to lift the 40-ton stuff, is like, we know Goku from what we've seen, he can do more than that. We've seen him as a kid being able to lift a Bulma's car and toss her with her in it, and at most cars weigh at least 2 tons. Let's say, for argument's sake, this car was only 1 ton since it was small. Even if it's 1 ton, by the time of literally the beginning of Dragon Ball to that point in Dragon Ball Z, Goku should have got way more than 40 times, or at least, or 80 times stronger than what he was at that point. So yeah, the feats don't always consistently, accurately represent with it. Usually the problem comes from numerical stuff, like talking about how long Snake Way is or how much tons that they're lifting. But it's never usually statements that are non-numerical, like talking about destroying a planet or a galaxy. But it does happen. And that's the one big problem with Dragon Ball, why a lot of people are like, oh, Dragon Ball is very inconsistent and we can't take it seriously, and I get it. It's because they do stuff like this where they have, these characters, they show them doing insane stuff, and then they have stuff where there's like low end feats that make them look weak. And I think this could be put in the category as an outlier. People did this a lot with Master Roshi destroying the moon. I don't fully agree with that. I'll probably make a video of that in the future. But people stated that Master Roshi can't destroy the moon because if we look later on, Demon King Piccolo only trying to destroy cities, and he was far stronger. So we would consider that as an outlier. Usually that would be considered as a high-end outlier, but Dragon Ball has a lot of low-end outliers like this, where they have stuff where they should be past that, but they're still struggling. Even in the manga, they didn't state that it was universal, that they're universal. Beerus and Goku Shockwaves are still traveling throughout the macrocosm and reaching the Supreme Kai's level, and they did mention that it was in danger. And now they're significantly even stronger, so galaxy levels wouldn't make any sense.
Specific points. You could scale Dragon Ball through raw power scaling or through feats, but I'll do a separate feat breakdown video for different Dragon Ball series soon.
That's kind of ironic that he said this, because I went through his entire Dragon Ball GT, power scaling videos, and I mentioned many times that the feats and the power scaling that we see in Dragon Ball G do not add up. The feats are far weaker and less oppressive than the power scaling, but he put them both together. It just feels weird that when it comes to the Dragon Ball like Super, he separates the two, but when it comes to GT, for some reason, left them both in. I don't know why.
During God Zamasu's fight with completed Blue Goku, he's in a rage and says he does not care about the cosmos or Earth anymore. He's going to wipe out Goku along with this whole galaxy. That tells me, from a narrative standpoint, that even in this fit of rage, a being that doesn't even need the cosmos, or multiverse for that matter, that his next fit of rage will deal with just the galaxy. Remember, Toyotaro and Toriyama don't write with an in-depth power scale in mind. They don't care about consistency or inconsistency of feats. They write for the story. They are story writers and artists, and decide some characters are X amount strong at specific...
This is why I have a big problem with people who do verses between, let's say another fictional character from Marvel, DC, or any other anime compared to and I'm not talking about old school Dragon Ball where it's Dragon Ball Z. I'm talking about once when Battle of Gods came on, from that point till where we are now, because the power scaling is so bad, it's so horrible, that you can clearly tell that Toriyama, Toei Animation, and Toyotaro do not give a crap about it, and it kind of becomes ridiculous as us as fans. And I mentioned this in my problem with the modern day Dragon Ball video, is that we try to fit these feats into a logical standpoint and say, well, logically this probably happened to that. But let's be honest, the writers are not thinking that way. They're not even caring. So us as fans, we are trying to defend this and make reasonings for it, but the writers are not themselves. So I tell you guys that, hey, look, what's the point of us trying to bend over backwards and stuff to make this stuff make sense when the writers don't even put any time and effort to make it make any sense? So if they're not putting the time to make it consistent, then why the hell are we trying to rack our brains and do this mental gymnastics and try to fit these pieces into these puzzles that don't fit in? That's why I don't like power scaling, modern day Dragon Ball. When everybody says, oh, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Super Saiyan God Goku, or these forms, I'm just well, the power scaling makes no sense. You can have two sides of an argument. You can have an argument where you can say these characters are this powerful, but you can also have a counter argument saying, actually, they're not that powerful because of this and that. They put so much inconsistency in there to the point where there's some very impressive feats that can be, put into there, but there's also stuff that makes them look weak, and people who want to downplay Dragon Ball can use it to belittle, the power scaling. Though this has always been a problem throughout Dragon Ball Z, I don't say in any form of fiction. If you look at comic books or even other mangas and animes and stuff, you will see that there's inconsistencies, but there's still a level and amount that you can deal with where it's normal. I think Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z had a bit of inconsistencies, and some to a higher degree, but not to the extent that it has become now. Back then, at least you can ignore it or write around it or make some arguments. But nowadays, it's gotten so ridiculous to the point is you can't make any argument for it, and if you do, it just seems like you're making headcanon or excuses, and it's hard to depict it literally. So I do agree with him on that. And I'll say to any of you guys, if you guys are trying to, do these versus battles with these characters, just know that it's so inconsistent that even the person that you're arguing with could use a lot of counterpoints against you, and you will have to accept it because this show and the writers don't really care. So yeah, I would blame the writers for this because they're not putting the time and effort. And for me, I quit doing, power scaling stuff. I do make, videos talking about the power scaling, but I would never do a video about this version of Goku versus, this other character, because the power scaling is so bad that if I was to debate that, the person I'm debating with, or if somebody disagrees, they would have tons of counterpoints to my arguments. There's nothing I can say that definitively is correct.
Times because they feel like telling the story that way for dramatic.
Yeah, everything's about plot convenience.
Emphasize power. They don't care about scaling 10 times more than.
Like I said, they don't care about scaling, so why the hell do we? And it's not reasonable to put these characters in versus battles saying this will win or that win, because it doesn't make sense. We have characters struggling in this stuff. So I'll just suggest to you guys, I can't stop you guys from doing what you want, but I'll just suggest to you guys, don't do verses with, Dragon Ball characters nowadays, because it's not going to make any sense. And it's going to be hard to do it. If you want to do it, you're going to have to do a lot to navigate. But personally, me, I will never do it because it's just stupid.
At this point, or anything like that, and they played with these dramatic effects, like when Goku found out that Zeno had the power to wipe out the universe. A post-Battle of Gods Goku in the manga is so shocked at this power, but that doesn't really sit well with fan headcanon scaling, because Toyotaro and Toriyama don't really care about how things are scaled, they just want effect. And what tends to happen is they write the maximum destructive power of these characters like this with Zamasu, and that's just where they are at that point in the story. Inconsistent? Sure. Does it make sense based on scaling? Definitely. But that's narrative versus scaling for you. They don't always go hand in hand, so even though we can calculate these guys should be destroying way more than a universe, doesn't mean the story wants that at a specific point. In this case, Zamasu, this is meant to be a shock factor. Oh no, he's going to blow up the galaxy in the next attack, or something like that. Now, it's pretty evident in his rage, he's about to go balls deep with his power and do some serious damage, because he does not care anymore. That's pretty evident. But like I said, he should be wiping out masses of universes with one finger by now, from a scaling standpoint. Well, the narrative tends to put a lid on numbers and scaling getting too absurd, because it really does get absurd. We've all had a shot at scaling Dragon Ball, and it gets ridiculous. But how do they put a lid on...
And like I said, what's the thing called? People are always dogging on the anime, but the manga has just as bad writing. I made a video about talking about how they made Master Roshi have a bit of, Ultra Instinct. He was able to use it a little bit against Jiren, which was dumb. A lot of people argued, well, he's 300 years old and he's Goku's master. So what? Goku surpassed him in, fighting capabilities way long ago, so that doesn't matter. And if we're going by that logic, Beerus was millions of years old and also had, Ultra Instinct, and he trained with it a lot longer, and he still couldn't, barely master it. And yes, Master Roshi just touched it, but once again, Master Roshi wasn't training to attain Ultra Instinct, he just did, and he lived a lot less than him. So it's just ridiculous. So yeah, I will say this, the anime has bad writing, but people, I feel like, give too much credit to the manga, and the manga also has pretty shit writing when it comes to power scaling. It's just that these two source materials have different times where the power scaling is bad. They switch over and over again.
On things, they create a scenario of danger where the current threat will cause X amount of damage, and that also leads to greater impact of future threats. This makes perfect sense why everyone is scared that Zeno can wipe out a universe in the blink of an eye. This makes sense that Beerus versus Super Saiyan God Goku would end the universe over the course of the battle in the manga. It required two of them and their entire battle for even shockwaves to be produced. Think of lighting a fire in the woods. You only get the spark when there's friction, not the pieces on their own. Oh yeah, did I mention this is the manga only? Yeah, it is. In the anime, it's pretty much rammed down our throats that Goku and Beerus could do this with their hands tied behind their back. And in the anime, it tells us multiple times, even Goku on his own has the power to do it. But back to the manga.
That's also why I don't like the manga. The manga underpowered the hell out of them. It makes them look weak as hell. And if you're like me, because I do love power scaling and I love seeing these characters get more powerful, and there's a lot of people that don't care about it, they just care about the writing and the fun, whatever, that's fine. But for me personally, if people like me, I know a lot of you guys who watch my videos also care about power scaling, would hate to see them weaken them. We want to see these characters as powerful as possible, because we've seen all these other fictional characters getting insanely OP. Why can't the Dragon Ball characters be OP? Now, the anime does it better than more than the manga, but even the anime has a lot of inconsistencies. The anime was more consistent with their writing of it, and didn't have these ridiculous stuff where they're getting hurt by stuff that they shouldn't, then I don't think I would have had any problem with it. Because I don't have a problem with them escalating the power up this high. I just have a problem with how they handled it.
It's building up the impact for one character at a time. God Zamasu isn't one-shot in the universe. At this point, it would be reasonable to suggest Beerus can one-shot one infinite dimension within the entire Universe 7. So from a narrative standpoint, this potential feat shows that God Zamasu is galaxy level during his fit of rage, with the intention to end it all. Now later on, God Zamasu says he's going to destroy more than the parallel worlds, but there's no specification on how this will be done, so it would be headcanon to assume it's one-shotting with no evidence of time frame. So in my opinion, is God Zamasu galaxy level in terms of scaling in the manga? Absolutely not. He's way, way above that, and I think we can all agree on that. But is God Zamasu galaxy level from a narrative standpoint? And I believe he is meant to be. And that's what it comes down to. Narrative versus fan scaling, and the cold hard truth is only one of them matters in the head office. Super Saiyan God Goku alone in the Battle of God saga, he is not one shot in a universe from a narrative standpoint. God Zamasu cannot do that from a narrative standpoint. Scaling, as I said, they're all doing way more. But thank you for watching. Let me know if you think this.
That was a great video by Saiyan Scholar on it. Like I stated, the thing about these versus battles and stuff, people think it's very simple and easy. You just get characters, you get their stats saying, their best, how strong they are, how durable they are, how fast they are and stuff. There's more complexities to it. In my last video, I mentioned how the Seth video, I mentioned how a lot of these universes have different laws in the way they handle the laws of science and reality. So if you're going to compare these two characters, just know that their worlds, the way that it works is different, so it's going to be more confusing. And this is another one where, depending on who the writer is or writers of your talking about comic books, it depends on who they are, because some do care more about like how powerful they are. Obviously they will still care about the story, but they want to showcase how powerful these characters are, and they're more consistent when it comes to like the power scaling. And then there's others who just care about the writing and the story narrative, and when that happens, those type of ideals clash with what has been shown and what should be the case. So this is another reason why power scaling in general is just complicating and confusing, because we have literally these writers that write scenes and dialogue that don't make sense or don't add up, and now we as fans have to navigate through it, and it's very hard. And sometimes you can go through it and be like, it's not too bad, it's not too ridiculous. But then it gets to a point where, like, with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super, where they go so off the deep end that you can't really make an excuse for it, and you can't really argue for it anymore. One last thing I do want to say is, I think out of all the series that I've seen, like every comic book that I've read, or every anime and manga that I've seen or read, I think Dragon Ball, like what it has become now, has had the worst power scaling I've ever seen. I haven't seen any other series or franchise have even worse power scaling than Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball nowadays has the worst power scaling. It makes no sense. It's pointless to even try to go and try to understand it. It makes no sense. The writers don't even care. They write whatever the hell they want. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for my next one.